How's it going, everyone? It's K Limited here, and today we are going to be talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind on the Nintendo Switch. And I was pretty excited to get into this game. I do like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's not something that I grew up watching. It's actually something that I started watching when I was an adult. We weren't allowed to watch it when we were kids. So when I was an adult, I was just like, alright, this is something I've always wanted to watch. I'm going to start watching Power Rangers. And I started watching a bunch of the different Power Ranger series and stuff like that. I started collecting the figures. And it's something that I've really enjoyed as an adult. And I was really excited to dive into this game and check it out. And my first impressions of this game, honestly, were not great. But it's one of those games that kind of grows on you over time. Like, the first few stages, I was just kind of like, it's okay. You know, like the first 5-6 stages, I was just kind of like, it's fine, I guess, for what it is. But as you can keep playing it and you just keep going on, it actually starts to get a little bit addictive. It actually becomes really fun. And I think part of that is because just how much charisma this game has. If you like Power Rangers, you are going to love the presentation of this game right off the bat. The game looks phenomenal. All of the sprites look great. The characters look great. It's bright. It's colorful. It just has so much like the dialogue in the game, you know, a lot of it is just read. There's not a whole lot of voice acting, but the dialogue that the characters have, it just feels like Power Rangers. Everything about this really is just a true love letter to the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and they did such a great job just putting all of those characters into this game and giving you a really fun beat-em-up game. In terms of the way it performs, I never had any issues with the performance of this game. It performed just fine, and I would expect nothing less for a retro-style beat-em-up like this, so that's good. Now, let's talk about how it actually plays. Now, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you go through multiple stages that are essentially beat-em-up stages, and you can pick one of the first 5 different Rangers to pick, and as you go through the levels, you beat up a bunch of the Putty Men, you beat up a bunch of different enemies that pop up, and you will be able to actually level up your characters at the end of the stage. So depending on how much XP you get, you can level up your characters, and you can give them more strength, you can give them quicker speed, and stuff like that. So you have a chance to upgrade each one of your Power Rangers individually, and it will also take you back to the little diner that they go to, like where all the Power Rangers hang out at. It will take you back there, and you'll be able to swap to the other Power Rangers. So if you get tired of playing as Billy, then you can swap to one of the other Power Rangers, right? So I do think that's pretty cool that you can basically swap in between missions whenever you want to a different Ranger and just keep leveling up as many Rangers as you want throughout the story. I think that's actually pretty cool. And you can obviously replay missions as well and all that good stuff. And at the little diner that you go to, there's actually a few arcade machines that you can also go up, and you can play those arcade machines, and they have their own little mini games that you can play. There's nothing crazy on there, but it is cool that they at least give you a little bit of extra stuff to do in that hub area. And you can also save people throughout the levels. Like, you'll see people who are in trouble, and you can save them from whatever situation they're in, and they will actually pop up in the diner once you save them. So that's kind of cool. It's like, not only do you save them in the level, but you kind of get a little bit of a reward because you see them in the diner, and then you can go and talk to them, and they will actually give you like a secret item. So that's actually kind of cool too. The actual way that the levels are set up, I do like the beat 'em up levels. I think they're pretty fun for the most part. The majority of them have you going through the level, beating up just a bunch of different enemies, dodging a variety of different obstacles that are coming at you. And a lot of them will have boss fights at the end of them, and I do enjoy the boss fights for the most part. I think a lot of the boss fights are pretty fun. I like that this isn't just beat 'em up levels though. Every now and then it will give you like a driving level, for example, where you're riding on a motorcycle and you're going through the streets and you're trying to destroy these tanks that are carrying these like crystals that are harnessing energy and stuff like that. So I like those levels. I think those are really fun whenever you get to ride on the motorcycles. Those are pretty awesome. I also really like the levels where they let you drive the actual like animal mech suit that the Power Rangers have. So you can, depending on what character you're playing as, you get to use their specific vehicle, which is pretty cool. So if you're playing as Pink Ranger, you get to use her pterodactyl, which is really cool. And that, whenever you're using the pterodactyl, it kind of feels like a little bit of like a Star Fox level the way it's made. But you can also play as, for example, Yellow Ranger. You can start using the saber-tooth tiger, and then it completely changes the way that it feels whenever you're playing those levels. Because obviously instead of flying, now you're running on the ground as the tiger, and you're jumping over objects. You have a little bit more platforming and stuff that you have to avoid that way. So I do like that it has a couple of different feelings depending on whether you pick a flying character or you pick one of the standard other rangers, so that I actually really like, and I really like those levels as well. And a lot of those levels where you are flying in the actual vehicles, or you're flying in the pterodactyl, or you're driving the saber-tooth tiger, whatever you're doing, they usually end in a boss fight as well. They usually have a boss fight that's connected to them, and it's pretty cool how it works, because all the vehicles will form together to make the Megazord, and then you'll have this 3D first-person fighting level, and you are basically just trying to punch the other giant boss in the face over and over again to knock him out, and it's actually pretty fun. I think that they did a really good job of just implementing that style of, I guess, that type of mechanic in this game. I think they did a good job of just having so many different types of mechanics, so many different style of levels added into this beat-em-up game. I think they did a great job of that, and each one of them is pretty well done, and I really enjoy them. There's not any level that I just am not a huge fan of. I enjoy pretty much every level in this game, which is great. While you're playing through these different styles of levels, you have a little energy bar in the top left corner, and if you fill that energy bar up, it will actually give you a super ability. You have a super ability that you can use once you fill it up by getting combos and just trying to stay alive as long as possible, and also collecting these coins. You'll see these coins sitting around, and you collect those, that will add energy to your energy bar. And yeah, you just save those up, and it will just give you a mega attack. And the attacks actually look pretty cool. Each Power Ranger has their own specific one, which is also really cool. So I like that. I think that's also really cool as well. I will say I like the animations for the fighting as well. I think that they did a great job with every character's animation. I saw some people complaining that you don't get to use their weapons, and that's pretty much true. They did animate their weapon coming out and attacking a little bit. If you're doing a combo, you may see them pull out their weapon at the very last hit or something like that. But it's definitely not what you would expect, So I do kind of wish that there was more weapon usage in this game. I think that would be nice. But the animations that are there for the hand-to-hand combat, those do look pretty good, I do believe. Really, my only complaint for this game in terms of its actual gameplay is sometimes the hitboxes feel like they're pretty off. Especially in the last boss fight when you're fighting this robotic Rita character, the main boss of this game, who's basically caused all time to go wonky. She's gone back in time, and she's from the future. She's teaming up with the original Rita, and they're trying to take down the Power Rangers or whatever, and you're trying to stop them from messing up time as you know it. But her boss fight is just not very good, if I'm being honest. It's just, the hitboxes are so small for what you need to do. You're supposed to punch these plasma balls back at her, and it's just that it does not want to take your hits. They made the hitbox way too small for the orbs that are flying at you, so that would have been nice to have that fixed, but that's really my only complaint. The only other thing I can think of is sometimes the bosses do feel a little bit unpredictable. The balancing can sometimes feel off. Some of the bosses in the middle will actually be way easier than the bosses towards the beginning of the game, I've noticed. And I do think that they messed up with the dodge a little bit. If I played through this game on easy mode and normal mode, and on easy mode you can basically just use that dodge over and over and over again, and it's really nice. On normal mode, the dodge is a lot harder to use, and you have to get that timing down almost perfect. And it kind of makes boss fights a pain in the butt. And the boss fights, again, that would be my main point of contention with this game, is just the boss fights have some areas that I think are really cool. There's some really cool ideas there, but then there's just some things where it's just the balancing feels a little off, the hitboxes should be a little bigger. It's all small stuff. The game's still easily completable, but it is something that is a little bit aggravating. One thing that is cool about this game is that once you do play through the game and you actually beat the game, it will give you a bunch of cheat codes or little kind of extra features that you can use before you go into the game. There's one that will make it so if you play on normal or higher, it will no longer require you to use continues. You just have infinite lives. So I do like that, because I do think it's kind of silly that on normal and higher they use the continue system where you only have a couple lives and then you have to use a continue. I've never been a big fan of that. I always feel like that's a very outdated system, especially when they give you a limited amount of continues. If you want to give me unlimited continues and do that, that's fine. I don't mind. But if you want to give me just 10 continues and then if I run out, it's over, don't like that. I've never been a fan of that. So that's one thing that I'm glad that they have that little feature whenever you beat the game where you can just turn on infinite lives and you don't have to worry about that. But I do wish that they would just have one that was just infinite continues instead, because that would make more sense to me, because I don't mind running out of lives in the level and having to restart the level. It's more of, I don't want to have to restart the entire game if I run out of continues. That would be my point of contention. Something you may want to do whenever you go into the game is turn off the scan lines. This game has scan lines turned on by default. Personally, I'm not a fan of those. I know some people are, but I just don't really like the artificial look of them. So you can go into settings and turn those off. And it actually does have a few different types of variations for the scan lines, though, if you are a fan of that sort of thing, you know. So if you want to play around with that in the settings, you can definitely do that. But I like seeing all of the pixels in their full glory, so I turn the scan lines off personally. Now, I will say one area I actually really do like in this game is the soundtrack and the sound design in general. I think that this game has actually really good sound in it. I like the music that's playing in it. You know, you definitely have some of those classic Power Rangers songs in it, but just overall, I like the different songs that you have in this. I like the song that's playing in the diner. I like the songs that plays during the levels. I like all of that stuff. I think that's really cool. And I think overall they did a good job with that. I like the collectibles on all the levels. There's a lot of different collectibles that you can look out for. And I like looking for those and just breaking items and hoping that something falls out of them. And just trying to save the people on the levels as well. I think that's really fun. So I think all of that stuff is really good as well. I do kind of wish that there were some more branching paths on the levels. That would have been nice. But, you know, either way, even though that's not there, I still think the level design's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll need to try again.
Now, with everything being said, even with its small issues that it has with like its bosses and its hit detection and stuff like that, with all that being said, I still think that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind is a phenomenal game, and I definitely think that it's worth having in your collection, especially if you are a Power Rangers fan. First and foremost, if you're a Power Rangers fan, you should definitely have this in your collection. You will definitely enjoy at least the charisma that this game has. You will enjoy the setting, because they did a great job of just, again, putting that Power Rangers world into this video game. So I think they did a great job with that. The graphics look great. I love the different stages that you have, too. Every stage looks different from one another, which is always a good thing. Love the stage design. One of my favorite stages is the carnival, and there's this shooting section on the carnival where you get to go onto this roller coaster and you're shooting like off the side of a roller coaster, and that's a really fun level. So the level design is just really, really good. There's not a single level that I dreaded playing through on this game. Just some of the boss fights were a little bit iffy, but for the most part, like the actual levels themselves, I had a blast playing through. So this is a great game. I highly recommend it. I picked it up for $35 for the physical edition. I do think that price does need to be a factor in reviews, and I will say $35 does seem a little high for it, if I'm being completely honest. Like, if you can get this game for more like $20 to $25, I'd say that's definitely a better price for it. But for $35, I'm still not upset with it. I still think that's a pretty, you know, I'm still just happy to have it in my collection either way. But if you are someone who's gaming and you want to pick this up for a price that's just like, feels a little bit better, I'd say definitely wait for this to drop on sale, or just hope that it drops on sale. You know, you never know with some of these games. Some of these Switch games, they don't go on sale the way they should. So maybe this one will, maybe it won't. We'll see. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.